Have you ever noticed how the moment you stop chasing something, it begins to follow you? There's a man sitting across the room. He's not the loudest, not the most handsome, not trying the hardest. Yet something about his presence draws every eye. Women sense it immediately. That quiet certainty, that unshakable core. What they're responding to isn't arrogance or games. It's something far more primal and rare. A human being who exists independently of their approval. This isn't about manipulation. This is about liberation. Most men live their entire lives inside an invisible cage, one they've built themselves from the desperate need to be chosen. They reshape their personalities like clay, molding themselves into what they believe will earn love. But here's the brutal truth. The very act of contorting yourself for acceptance guarantees you'll never receive authentic desire. A French philosopher named Sartre understood this deadly game. He called it bad faith, the moment you abandon your authentic self to become what you think others want you to be. Consciousness, Sartre argued, is a void waiting to be filled by choice. You are not born with a fixed essence. You create yourself through every decision, every boundary, every moment you choose authenticity over comfort. The average man doesn't understand this power. He believes he needs completion from the outside. He thinks a woman's love will finally make him whole, finally prove his worth. This is the first fatal error. When you hand someone else the pen to write your story, you cease to be the protagonist of your own life. You become a supporting character in someone else's drama. Watch how this plays out in relationships. The man who needs her validation will twist himself into impossible shapes. He'll agree when he disagrees. He'll laugh when nothing is funny. He'll silence his own voice to avoid any friction. She feels this immediately. Not consciously, perhaps, but in her bones. She senses she's dealing with someone who has no center, no true north beyond her approval. And desire dies in the presence of such desperate accommodation. There's something ancient and powerful that awakens in a woman when she encounters a man who doesn't need her to complete his world. It's not that he doesn't want her. It's that his wanting comes from overflow, not emptiness. This man has done the hard work of becoming whole in his own right. He's faced the terrifying freedom of defining himself without external validation. He's learned to sit comfortably in his own silence. When he speaks, it's because he has something to say, not because silence makes him uncomfortable. When he gives, it's from abundance, not from the desperate hope of receiving something in return. Women can sense this difference immediately. It shows up in how he carries himself, how he responds to tests, how he handles her emotional storms. He doesn't chase her moods. He doesn't explain himself endlessly. He doesn't break his own boundaries to keep her comfortable. This isn't coldness. This is presence. Real, unshakable presence. Neediness is not love. It's fear wearing love's mask. The needy man believes his emotions are gifts. He thinks his vulnerability is currency that should buy him affection. He opens his heart like a resume, listing all his feelings as qualifications for her love. But vulnerability without strength is just emotional exhibitionism. It creates pity, not passion. Real attraction requires tension. It needs the electric space between two complete individuals choosing each other, not two half-people desperately trying to merge into wholeness. When you need someone, you give them power over your emotional state. Your happiness becomes hostage to their moods, their attention, their approval. She feels this weight immediately, the pressure of being responsible for another person's emotional well-being. The suffocating awareness that your happiness depends entirely on her presence. This is not love. This is emotional imprisonment. The man who has transcended neediness offers something entirely different. He offers choice. He creates space for authentic desire to breathe and grow. Sovereignty is not isolation. It's the ability to be whole whether you're alone or accompanied. The sovereign man has learned to generate his own meaning, his own worth, his own direction. He doesn't wait for permission to live fully. He doesn't require applause to know his value. This doesn't mean he's incapable of connection. In fact, the opposite is true. Because he's not desperately grasping for validation, he can offer genuine intimacy. His love comes from strength, not weakness. He can disagree without fear of abandonment. He can say no without guilt. He can pursue his own goals without asking for approval. When a woman encounters this kind of man, something ancient stirs within her. She recognizes, perhaps unconsciously, that she's in the presence of someone who cannot be owned, manipulated, or controlled. This is simultaneously thrilling and terrifying. It awakens her own sovereignty, challenges her to show up as her fullest self rather than hiding behind manipulation or games. Not every woman is ready for this level of authenticity. Many are accustomed to men who can be easily managed, predicted, controlled. But the women who are ready respond with a depth of attraction that goes beyond the physical. They feel safe to be themselves because they're with someone who cannot be shaken from his center. The transformation from validation-seeking to self-validation is not a destination. It's a daily practice. It begins with small acts of integrity, saying what you mean, meaning what you say, honoring your own boundaries even when it's uncomfortable. It continues with learning to sit in silence without reaching for your phone, without needing distraction, without requiring external stimulation to feel okay about yourself. It deepens when you can disagree with someone you care about without immediately backtracking, without explaining yourself into exhaustion, without sacrificing your truth for temporary peace. Most men have never experienced this kind of internal freedom. They've lived their entire lives as emotional refugees, constantly seeking shelter in someone else's approval. But once you taste authentic self-possession, you can never go back to the desperate dance of people-pleasing. Your relationships transform. Instead of seeking someone to complete you, you seek someone worthy of your completeness. Instead of offering your neediness as proof of love, you offer your strength as a gift. Instead of losing yourself in another person, you invite them to dance with the fullness of who you are. Here's the paradox that drives most men insane. The less you need her, the more she wants you. This isn't a game or a strategy. It's a fundamental truth about human psychology. We are drawn to what we cannot possess, what we cannot control, what maintains its mystery and power in our presence. The man who has done the inner work, who has learned to be complete in his own right, naturally becomes magnetic. Not because he's trying to attract anyone, but because he's no longer repelling through desperation. He walks into a room and doesn't scan for approval. He speaks and doesn't analyze the response. He exists without apology, without explanation, without the constant need to justify his presence. This is not arrogance. Arrogance is just another form of insecurity, another way of seeking validation through superiority. This is quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself because it simply is. Age doesn't matter here. You could be 25 or 75. The principle remains the same. The moment you stop building your identity around who stays and who goes, you become someone worth staying for. Every man faces this choice eventually. Usually after enough heartbreak, enough disappointment, enough nights wondering why his love isn't enough. You can continue the old pattern. Shape-shifting, people-pleasing, losing yourself in the desperate attempt to be chosen. Or you can choose the harder path, becoming someone who doesn't need to be chosen because he's already chosen himself. This path is lonely at first. It requires you to sit with uncomfortable truths about yourself, to face the parts of your personality you've been hiding behind relationships. But on the other side of that loneliness lies something profound, the unshakable knowledge that you are enough exactly as you are. From this place, love becomes an adventure rather than a rescue mission. Relationships become a celebration of two whole people rather than a desperate merger of two incomplete halves. This is Sartre's gift to modern men, the reminder that you are condemned to be free, that your existence precedes any essence others might try to assign to you. You are not who they want you to be. You are who you choose to become. And that choice, made freshly each day, is the source of all genuine attraction, all authentic connection, all lasting love. The question is not whether you're worthy of love. The question is whether you're brave enough to be yourself and let love find you there.